Bikers saw a waitress limping. What they did next saved her life. The bikers noticed the waitress freeze when dark motorcycles pulled into the lot. They saw the limp she tried to hide, the bruises beneath her sleeve, the terror in her eyes. What they did next didn't involve fists or threats, but it gave her something she thought she'd lost forever: freedom. And when the man who hurt her showed up with his gang, those 12 bikers made a choice that would change everything. The bell above Martha's diner chimed like a warning. 12 leather-clad bikers walked in, boots heavy on the checkerboard floor. The afternoon sun slanted through blinds, cutting stripes across their faces. An elderly man looked up from his pie, fork frozen. A young couple pulled their toddler closer. Cole Reaper Stone removed his sunglasses first. His crew, the Steel Vultures, followed suit. "Gentlemen," Cole said, his voice carrying that particular calm that made people relax. "We'll take the back booths. Coffee all around." Martha's was one of those forgotten roadside places time had polished instead of ruined. Red vinyl seats patched with duct tape, a jukebox playing songs from 1987, the smell of burnt coffee and maple syrup. Behind the counter, a woman in her late 20s looked up. Her name tag read Sarah in faded letters. "Coming right up," she said, her smile genuine but tired in a way that had nothing to do with the hour. Cole watched her move toward the coffee station. That's when he saw it. The limp. Not obvious. More like she was protecting something, favoring one side. She moved like someone who'd learned to hide pain so well it had become part of her rhythm. His crew settled into booths, still buzzing from their charity ride. They'd just delivered $3,000 worth of school supplies to the reservation up north. "Yo, Reaper," Marcus laughed. "Remember when that kid asked if your bike was a rocket?" Cole agreed, but his attention had drifted. Sarah was carrying a tray now, 4 mugs balanced perfectly. But when she reached their table, she compensated hard for that left leg. She set the cups down with practiced efficiency, but Cole noticed the tremor in her right hand. Overcompensating. "Sugar's on the table, cream's coming," she said. "You boys need menus or just coffee?" "Just coffee's fine," Cole said. Then carefully, "Long shift?" Something flickered across her face. "Every shift's long here, but it's honest work." She moved to the next booth. The limp was more pronounced from behind. Cole's jaw tightened. The thing about Cole was this. He'd grown up in a house where his mother hid bruises with makeup and long sleeves. He'd learned early that silence could be its own violence. He'd sworn at 15, standing over his father's unconscious body after he'd finally fought back, that he'd never ignore the signs again. Sarah brought their cream. When she leaned over to set it down, her sleeve rolled up just slightly. Just enough. A bracelet of purple and yellow decorated her wrist, the kind that didn't come from jewelry. Cole's blood went cold. She noticed him noticing. Their eyes met for half a second, hers widening with panic before she tugged her sleeve down and moved away quickly. Too quickly. She caught her hip on a table corner. A coffee mug crashed to the floor. The diner went silent. "Damn it," Sarah whispered, dropping to her knees. Her hands shook as she picked up pieces. "I'm so sorry." "Hey, no worries," the old man at the counter said. "Happens to everybody." But Cole saw what nobody else did. Tears gathering in her eyes that had nothing to do with a broken mug. When she stood, she put weight on that left leg wrong and winced. A real sharp wince she tried to hide by coughing. Cole looked at his crew. They'd all gone quiet. Men who'd seen things. Men who recognized things. Marcus leaned in. "Boss, that's..." "I know." Cole said quietly. They finished their coffee in near silence. Cole left 2 20s for a $6 tab, then pulled out one of his business cards, just his first name and a phone number. He waited until Sarah came back to clear their table. "Ma'am," he said, standing. His crew stood too. Habit and respect. "You take care of yourself." She looked at him, really looked, and for a moment something passed between them. Understanding, a question, maybe a plea. "You too," she said softly. Cole placed the card under the 20s, face down. Then he and his crew walked out. Outside, late afternoon sun painted everything gold. The bikes sat in perfect rows, chrome gleaming. Cole pulled on his sunglasses but didn't mount his bike yet. "We staying?" Marcus asked. "Not yet," Cole said, "but we're coming back." He looked back through the window. Sarah was standing at their table, staring at the card and money. She picked up the card slowly, read it, then pressed it against her chest like a secret. That's when Cole saw them. 3 motorcycles pulling into the far end of the parking lot. Darker bikes, meaner edges, a serpent painted across their gas tanks in violent red, mouth open, ready to strike. Sarah saw them too. Through the window, Cole watched her face drain of color. She stumbled backward, the card falling from her hand. She didn't pick it up, just moved quickly toward the kitchen, limp, forgotten in her urgency to disappear. The men on the dark bikes hadn't dismounted. They just sat there, engines rumbling, watching the diner. Watching. Cole's hand curled into a fist. "Boss," Marcus said, warning in his voice. "We don't know what this is." "We know enough," Cole said, but he didn't move toward them. Not yet. Instead, he started his bike. His crew followed suit. 12 engines roared to life in unison, a sound like thunder, like a promise. As they pulled away, Cole looked in his mirror one last time. The men on the dark bikes were still there, still watching, and through the diner window, he could just make out Sarah's silhouette in the kitchen doorway. She was shaking. If you believe that protecting the vulnerable is what real courage looks like, hit that subscribe button to Iron Brotherhood Stories, because what happens when Cole goes back will prove that some men don't just walk away when they see evil. They ride straight back into it. Let's see what happened next. The rain started at 9, just as Cole turned his bike back toward Martha's diner. He'd tried to stay away, told himself it wasn't his business. Drove 20 miles toward home, listening to Marcus talk about his daughter's soccer game, pretending everything was normal. But that image. Sarah's face draining of color, her hands shaking, wouldn't leave him alone. "You know we're going back," Marcus had said finally. Cole had nodded. "Yeah." Now 4 of them rode through the rain, Cole, Marcus, and 2 others, Bones and Tiny. The rest of the crew had families waiting. The diner's parking lot was nearly empty when they arrived. Just 3 vehicles. Sarah's beat-up Honda, the cook's truck, and those 3 dark motorcycles. The serpents were still there. Cole killed his engine. Through the rain-streaked windows, he could see inside. 2 men sat in a back booth. The third stood at the counter, leaning close to Sarah. Too close. She was backed against the coffee station, one hand raised defensively. The man, tall, heavily tattooed, with a shaved head, had his hand on the counter, boxing her in. Cole was moving before he'd made a conscious decision. The bell chimed when he entered. The 3 serpents looked up. The man at the counter, Cole would later learn his name was Derek Kane, smiled. Not friendly, predatory. "We're closed," Derek said, though he clearly wasn't an employee. "Didn't ask," Cole said. His crew filed in behind him. The temperature in the room dropped. Derek straightened. stepping away from Sarah, but not before Cole saw the way she flinched at the movement. "You the guys from earlier?" Derek asked. "Leaving big tips, playing hero?" Cole didn't respond. He looked at Sarah. "You okay?" She opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes darted to Derek, then back. "She's fine," Derek answered for her. "Just having a conversation with my girlfriend. Private conversation." "Didn't sound private," Marcus said from the door. Derek's smile vanished. "You boys should leave before this gets ugly." "Funny," Cole said. "I was about to say the same to you." The tension ratcheted tighter. Derek's two associates stood from their booth. Big men, mean-looking. But Cole had spent his life reading dangerous men. And these three? They were bullies, used to intimidating through reputation and numbers. They'd never faced 12 sober bikers with a code. "Sarah," Cole said, not taking his eyes off Derek. "Is this man your boyfriend?" "Ex-boyfriend," she whispered. "Did you ask him to leave?" She nodded, tears streaming now. "Then he's trespassing," Cole said. He pulled out his phone, dialed 911, put it on speaker. "911, what's your emergency?" "I'm at Martha's Diner on Highway 47. There are 3 men here harassing a female employee. They're refusing to leave. She's afraid for her safety." Derek's face went red. "You son of a—" "The owner is requesting they be removed from the property," Cole continued calmly. "They're members of a motorcycle gang." "Yes, ma'am, we'll wait for officers." He ended the call. "You just made a big mistake," Derek said. "No," Cole said. "You did. When you put your hands on her the first time." Sirens in the distance. Derek and his crew exchanged looks. "This isn't over," Derek spat. He pointed at Sarah. "You think these guys are going to protect you forever? I know where you live. I know where your daughter goes to school." Sarah gasped, and Cole understood. This wasn't just about her. She had a child. "You just threatened a minor in front of witnesses," Cole said. "Smart." 2 patrol cars pulled into the lot, lights flashing. Derek and his crew left, but not before Derek leaned close to Cole. "We'll see you again." "Looking forward to it," Cole said. After the police took statements, after Sarah stopped shaking enough to talk, Cole sat with her in a back booth. The cook, Tommy, brought her tea, chamomile like her mother used to make. "I have a daughter," Sarah said quietly, staring at the steam rising from her cup. "Emma. She's 5. She stays with my mom during my shifts." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Derek and I dated for 6 months. At first he was charming, attentive. My mom warned me there was something off about him, but I didn't listen. I thought she was just being overprotective." A tear slipped down her cheek. "He hit me the first time when I told him I was too tired to go out. Just a slap. He apologized, brought flowers, said it would never happen again." Cole had heard this story before, too many times. "I broke up with him 2 months ago after he shoved me into a wall. Emma saw it. She was so scared." Sarah's voice cracked. "But Derek won't let go. He shows up everywhere. At the grocery store, at Emma's daycare, here. He threatens me. Says if I go to police, he'll hurt Emma. Says he knows where my mom lives." She looked at Cole, eyes desperate. "I'm so scared. I work here because it's public, because I thought he wouldn't try anything with witnesses. But he doesn't care anymore. And I can't quit. I need the money. I can't protect Emma and work and—" "You're not alone anymore," Cole said firmly. Sarah shook her head. "You don't understand. Derek has friends. His brother is a cop 2 towns over. His cousin works at the courthouse. Last time I tried to file a restraining order, It mysteriously got lost. When I asked about it, the clerk said there was no record. She pulled out her phone, showed Cole a text from Derek. "You can't hide forever. I always find you, and when I do, you'll remember who you belong to." Cole's jaw clenched. He took a photo of the message. Has he ever hurt Emma? No, but he threatened to. Last week he followed my mom to Emma's preschool, just watched from across the street. My mom called me terrified. We kept Emma home for 3 days. Sarah's hands shook. I'm trapped. If I run, he'll find me. If I stay, he'll eventually... She couldn't finish the sentence. Cole pulled out his phone, made a call. "Marcus, we need everyone. Bring your wife. This is bigger than we thought." Over the next 2 weeks, the steel vultures became Sarah's shadow and Emma's. They took turns at the diner during her shifts. Always 2 or 3 bikes in the lot. Always eyes watching. The regulars noticed. At first they were nervous, but Cole made a point of introducing himself, explaining why they were there. "We're here to make sure Sarah stays safe," he'd tell curious customers. "She's been threatened. We're just making sure the threats stop." Word spread. The community rallied. Mrs. Henderson, who ran the flower shop, started bringing Sarah lunch. Mr. Davis from the hardware store installed new locks on Sarah's apartment door, free of charge. The pastor's wife organized a meal train. Marcus's wife, Jennifer, a former social worker, stayed with Sarah's mother, Helen, and Emma during the day. She taught Helen safety protocols, how to vary pickup times, how to watch for followers, how to document everything. Helen, 63, had been raising Emma while Sarah worked double shifts to make ends meet. She'd been terrified, barely sleeping, jumping at every sound. But with Jennifer there, with bikers patrolling the neighborhood, she started to breathe again. "I haven't seen my daughter smile in 2 months," Helen told Cole one afternoon when he picked Sarah up from work. Today she laughed. Emma laughed. Because they feel safe again. Her eyes filled with tears. "You gave me my granddaughter back. You gave me my daughter back. How do I ever thank you for that?" Cole just shook his head. "You don't. You just keep them safe. That's thanks enough." Derek tried twice more to approach. The first time, he showed up at Emma's preschool, found Bones and Tiny waiting in the parking lot. They didn't threaten him, just stood there, arms crossed, watching until he drove away. The second time, he came to the diner at closing. Sarah was locking up when she saw his bike. Her heart stopped, but Cole was already there, stepping out of the shadows where he'd been waiting. "You have a restraining order," Cole said calmly. "You're violating it." "I don't see any cops," Derek sneered. "No, you see me, and 12 brothers who've made a promise." Cole stepped closer. "You come near her daughter, near her mother, near anyone she loves. You won't have to worry about police. You'll worry about us. And we don't arrest people, Derek. We make sure they understand that some lines don't get crossed." Derek's face went red, but he backed away. "You can't watch her forever." "Try us," Cole said. Derek left, but Cole knew it wasn't over. Derek filed for a restraining order against Cole. It was denied. The judge noted Derek's history of domestic violence and current harassment charges. Meanwhile, the vultures did something else. They investigated. Bones, who worked in IT, dug through Derek's social media. Tiny, who had connections, asked around. What they found was a pattern. 3 other ex-girlfriends, all with similar stories. Cole contacted them through a lawyer friend. All 3 agreed to give statements. 2 weeks later, Derek Kane was arrested on multiple counts of stalking, harassment, assault, and making terroristic threats. The trial came 3 months later. Sarah testified. Standing in that courtroom, wearing the blazer Jennifer had helped her pick out, she told her story. Every detail, every bruise, every threat. Emma's grandmother, Helen, sat in the front row. Cole and his crew filled the gallery behind her. 12 men in leather, silent and steady. When Derek's lawyer tried to paint Sarah as dramatic, as vindictive, Cole saw Helen reach forward and squeeze her daughter's shoulder. "Ms. Mitchell," the prosecutor asked, "why didn't you report the abuse sooner?" Sarah's voice was clear now, strong. "Because I was terrified. Because he told me no one would believe me. Because his brother is a police officer and his cousin works in the courthouse. Because he said if I told anyone, he'd hurt my daughter." She looked at Derek for the first time. "But I'm not scared anymore. Because I learned that asking for help isn't weakness. And I learned that there are people who will stand between you and evil. People who don't look away." The 3 other women Derek had hurt testified too. Each one braver because Sarah had gone first. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Derek was sentenced to 5 years. The restraining order was extended for 20 years, covering Sarah, Emma, and Helen. When the verdict was read, Sarah didn't cry. She just stood there, Helen's hand in hers, and breathed. Outside the courthouse, Emma, now 6, ran to her mother. Sarah swept her up, holding her tight. "Is the bad man going away, Mommy?" Emma asked. "Yes, baby. He's going away for a long, long time." Emma looked at Cole, who stood a respectful distance away. "Is that the motorcycle man who keeps us safe?" Sarah smiled. "Yes, that's Mr. Cole." Emma wriggled down and walked over to Cole. She was tiny, barely came up to his knee, but she looked up at him with complete trust and held out a drawing. "I made this for you," she said. Cole knelt down, taking the paper. It was a crayon drawing of a little girl holding hands with a big man on a motorcycle. Above them, she'd written in wobbly letters, "Thank you." Cole's throat tightened. "You're very welcome, Emma." "Are you still going to protect my mommy?" "Always," Cole said. And he meant it. 6 months later, Martha's Diner reopened as the Rusted Halo. New sign, fresh paint, working jukebox. But more than that, it felt different, safer. Sarah, now co-owner, stood in the parking lot watching the steel vultures pull in for dinner. "Gentlemen," she said, unable to stop her smile, "welcome to the Rusted Halo." "Nice name," Marcus grinned. "Got a story?" "Everything's got a story," Sarah replied. When she brought Cole his coffee, good coffee now, not burnt, she set it down with steady hands. "You did good," Cole said quietly. "Place feels right." "We had help," Sarah said. "Someone gave us a second chance." Their eyes met. Gratitude, respect, something deeper. As she turned away, Cole pulled something from his jacket, a keychain, brushed silver, shaped like a feather. One word engraved. Freedom. "What's this?" Sarah asked. "For when you're ready to ride," Cole said simply. Sarah's breath caught. The keychain felt like a promise, like possibility. "I don't know how to ride a motorcycle," she said softly. "That's what lessons are for." Cole's smile was gentle. No pressure, no timeline. Just when you're ready. Sarah closed her fingers around the keychain. Through the window, the sun was setting, painting everything amber and rose. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Cole nodded. "You did the hard part. You survived, you testified, you rebuilt. We just made sure you had space to do it." As the crew prepared to leave, each man nodded respectfully. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. Tiny smiled. Bones tipped an imaginary hat. They filed out, engines roaring to life. Sarah walked to the doorway, keychain clutched in her palm. She watched as the steel vultures pulled onto the highway, taillights growing smaller. Cole was last. Before he rode off, he looked back at the diner, at Sarah standing in the doorway of her new life, and raised one hand. Sarah raised hers in return. As his engine faded, she felt something wet on her cheek. But these weren't tears of fear. They were relief, gratitude, hope. She looked at the feather keychain, traced the word with her thumb. Freedom. Maybe she would learn to ride. Maybe she'd call Cole next week. Or maybe she'd just keep the keychain as a reminder that she could if she wanted. The choice was hers now, and that made all the difference. If this story reminded you that real strength is protecting those who can't protect themselves, subscribe to Iron Brotherhood Stories for more true tales of courage, redemption, and the bonds that save lives. Tell us in the comments, have you witnessed someone stand up to a bully? Have you been helped by an unexpected hero? Your story might give someone else the courage to ask for help. Share this with a woman who needs to remember. You don't have to face your battles alone. And sometimes, the people who look the scariest are the ones who'll fight hardest to keep you safe. Sarah Mitchell was limping when Cole Stone first saw her. 6 months later, she was running a diner, raising her daughter in peace and learning to ride, because 12 bikers saw a woman in danger and didn't look away. That's what brotherhood means. That's what courage looks like. And that's why we never stop telling these stories.